Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Facebook Live today. I'm very excited because we're going to have a very cool topic. We're talking about angels. Yay! I'm Diane Ray, co-founder of MindBodySpirit.fm, and we've been doing these Meet the Podcasters to introduce you to some of the incredible talent that we have on the network, and you can go and check out their podcast and subscribe and follow. So I'm excited to introduce the podcaster today, Christi Clemons Hoffman. And she has an amazing podcast on the network that shares stories about angel encounters, real life angel encounters. And this show is so popular. You know, it's amazing the research I've seen out there about angels that says 70% of US adults believe in angels. 70%. I mean, that's a lot. That's a big number. And
Oh,
Christi knows what she's talking about. She's an angel expert, also a Reiki master, a QHHT level 3 practitioner, and she brings a wealth of knowledge to this subject. So thanks for joining me, Christi.
thank you, Diane. I'm happy to be here. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. I mean, congratulations on the success of real life angel encounters. And I want to share with everybody that it's award winning, and you've got an award, Best Storytelling Podcast. So you must be excited. Aren't you excited about
I'm
that?
so excited. This is unbelievable. Yeah. You work so hard on these things and you wonder if anybody notices and anybody listens.
Yes, no, I know that feeling. Is anybody out there, screaming into the abyss, into the void? But people are noticing, and people love angels and they love storytelling. So it's well deserved. So I want to talk a little bit about angels. And, we have them all around us. I mean, I'm always looking, over my shoulder. I'd love to see one, the wings and everything. There are unseen guides, our companions. And you've gone and gathered together some incredible stories on the podcast of angel encounters. So tell me, how did you get interested in this topic and angel communication?
Well, it's a very long story, but I'll try to tell it in a most condensed fashion if I can. So I grew up being an intuitive, and I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that meant, but I was interested in all kinds of strange things, ghosts and cryptid creatures and UFOs and all of these things, and I never really had any context for that and what that meant and what I could do with it, or what it, that it was anything special. But then my marriage was going through, well, it was ending about 2010, and I was looking for meaning, and I started Googling, as you Google things, I was Googling soulmates and karma and past lives and soul family and all these things, and everything was leading me to Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon was a very famous metaphysician living in Arkansas, and she passed in 2014, unfortunately. But I found out about her method of hypnosis. She developed quantum healing hypnosis technique that I do. And I found this technique and I thought, that's what I need to do. And I tried to make an appointment with her, and I was told that she was going to be booked up for the next 4 years because she was immensely popular. And the office was kind enough to tell me that she had just started teaching classes. Again, this was like 2010. And they said, maybe you'll find somebody in town that can do this session for you. So I did. My husband and I both went, and neither one of us got very far. And this practitioner said, well, it doesn't really happen that often, but when it does, I've got somebody I can refer you to who can tell you about karma, past lives, soul path, soul purpose, relationships. She's wonderful. I went to her. She gave me a reading. It was fantastic. I sent my friends. They all had wonderful experiences. And then she started teaching classes. So I took all of her classes that she was teaching and learned how to harness this skill that I have, this gift that I have, how to use it on demand, how to protect myself when using it, and how to talk to angels. And I absolutely loved it. I started working with clients pretty much right away. And then by 2011, I was doing that regularly, working with clients. And I don't know, that my interest just grew from there and grew from there. So I connect people with their teams. I connect people with their loved ones on the other side, their animals. And with their purpose, their path, and everything else. So it was during the pandemic, 2021. And my angels started tapping me on the shoulder saying, hey, you need to talk about us. You need to get our word out there that we're with you guys, and you need to be giving people hope. This is the height of the pandemic. And then it was interesting during the pandemic, all of these people were turning to YouTube and books and podcasts and learning so much about spirituality and angels and all of these things that are metaphysical. And so people were ready to hear these stories. And my angels kept tapping me, and I said, you know what? I've already got a podcast, the Radiate Wellness podcast. I'm a single mom, and I've got a busy practice, and I manage this group practice that I started. And he said, that's fine, and let me go for a while, and then tapped me again. And then on the third time that they tapped me, I said, okay, fine, I'll do this. I'll do a podcast. And they guided me toward a model that seemed to work really well. Jim Harold's Campfire. It's a great show. Jim Harold is a podcaster extraordinaire. He's got this podcast where people call in with their stories they might tell around a campfire, spooky stories. And when trying to work with my angels on how to format this podcast, they pointed to that as a nice model that people can tell their stories themselves, and that we can maybe feel the world is a little less big, right? If we
Right. Smaller.
yeah. And yeah, so that seemed to be a really good model, and that's what we did.
Well, I love sharing stories. I love podcasts like that, like The Moth. That's a great podcast. People share stories. I'll have to look up the one that you mentioned, the campfire.
Campfire.
Yeah. But did you find when you were gathering people's stories for angels, like when you put the word out, I mean, maybe did you expect there was going to be nothing coming back, or did you get just a whole tsunami or, of people responding with stories? Because I would think, maybe people were a little afraid at first to share that information.
Yeah. Well, and it's been a little bit of a slog. I'm going to be honest. I thought for sure, just build it and they will come. And that was not quite the case. So I've had to go out and rattle a few bushes and shake a few trees and get people out there, A, who have stories, and B, who'd be willing to share them. And then C, if they'd like to record them with me, which if they don't want to record them with me, I can even read their stories. And I've done that plenty of times. So yeah, at first it was a lot. And I already had this other podcast and a lot of other things going on. So, as you know, I put out 40 episodes of the Real Life Angel Encounters in the first iteration, the first season. And then I was really having a hard time finding stories. And so just kind of put it on hiatus for a little bit. And then you and Tina talked to me about, hey, you know what? This podcast is still getting new listeners. What would you think about bringing it back? And I thought, okay, well, how am I going to do that? And then again, the angels, I just said, all right, if you guys want me to do this, you're going to have to tell me how it looks. And they suggested to make it a bi-weekly instead of weekly. So yes. I'd love to bring it back weekly, but until then, we're going to do it every other week.
Well, we saw that people were still interested in going back and listening to the older episodes. So I think it's interesting that you were having a hard time, with people wanting to share, and maybe there is some judgment there, or people are afraid that, they'll be called nutty or something like that for sharing an angel encounter. So I think that's interesting. But the fact is, people really want to know that they have that support, that there's a guardian angel or someone behind them. I mean, can you share a story of maybe your own angel encounter? Have you had one that you could share with us?
Oh, I've had a few. Okay, so these are a couple of short ones, and they're both in the book, Real Life Angel Encounters. Real people share real stories of miraculous events. And they all happened, and they both happened about the same time. I was going through this breakup, like I told you, and I was driving down the highway to my therapist's office, and I was listening to a lot of Abraham Hicks at the time. I'm sure all the listeners here are familiar with Abraham Hicks. And yes. I was listening to them on CD, remember those, in my car. And I was very upset. And I said, hey, Abraham, if there's proof, if I'm going to be okay, you've got to give me a sign. You got to give me a sign that I'm going to be okay. And right then, a panel van pulled in front of my car. The back of the van, it said, Abraham, the name you know, the people you trust. And I just about wrecked, Diane, because I couldn't believe this. If that's not a sign, I don't know what is. Now, here's the kicker. On this van, It didn't say, I mean, it looked like obviously like a work van, but it didn't say HVAC, plumbing, electrical, any of that stuff. No identification for what type of business it was, and no website, email address, or phone number to go for more information. So I don't really, I'm not sure what to make of that, but it was definitely something otherworldly and something very,
That's a
very powerful.
sign. It's interesting how it'll show up in kind of an everyday way sometimes, or where you might not realize it. I remember my mother telling me about what she swears was an angel encounter, and her car had broken down on the side of the road, and it's just all of a sudden a stranger kind of appeared out of nowhere, helped her push the car over, kind of calmed her down a little bit. And she went to get some money, and she was going to try to give the guy like $5, and he said, don't worry, just pay it forward whenever you can. And then she turned back around, she's put the money back in her purse, and said the guy was gone, like he just kind of disappeared instantaneously. She goes, I swear that was an angel. And I remember at the time thinking, oh, Mom, come on, maybe you're losing it a little bit. But she swore up and down it was an angel. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, maybe it was an angel encounter. And I remember having an incident happen where I was driving, I was stuck in traffic. If anyone's been on the 5 here in Southern California, I'm sure every state has the place, where you're just stuck
Oh, yeah.
there. And I was sitting in traffic, and I had a big decision to make, whether I was going to leave a position or not. And I was wrestling with it. A car got in front of me, and on the back was a bumper sticker. It said, "Be not afraid." And I looked at the bumper sticker, and then the car kind of took off. And I thought, okay, well, there's my answer. If I should make this decision, which I ultimately did. But I think sometimes it comes in those maybe small, innocuous ways, but they're little nudges from our angels.
Yeah, I think so too. I totally agree. Yeah, and just having an open mind and recognizing things for, what, it could be a coincidence, could be happenstance, or it could be a message for you from your angels.
It could be an angel. I
Yeah.
mean, also people have shared with you on some of the stories, describing visits from loved ones
Hmm.
after they've passed.
Hmm.
And in your opinion, would that be, a mediumship kind of situation, not necessarily an angel, or can it be an angel in
Well,
that situation?
here's the deal. I don't get overly hung up on labels and titles and names. And in fact, there's one story that says angels or extraterrestrials, and it could be benevolent extraterrestrial. It could be a loved one. It could be a synchronicity. It could be an actual angel with wings and robes and the whole 9 yards. But, all of this I would count. If it's positive, if it's uplifting, and if it gives us hope, why not consider it an angel story, right? It doesn't have to strictly be an angel. If that makes
Right.
sense. Right?
Okay.
So the loved ones can show up for us. Yeah, absolutely, because they're on the other side. They're spiritual because they've shed their body. So the rest of them remains. We all have the same makeup. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Our meat suit or our body that we wear is not who we are. So when our loved ones' meat suit expires, the rest of us is free to wander and travel and visit. And yeah, we can get visits from our loved ones. It happens a lot. And I've got several stories about that.
Right. People can go back and listen to all the past episodes, and you've got some new ones coming up as well. I mean, do
Mhm.
you also explore on the podcast like the hierarchy of angels? Like there's Archangel Michael, there's Raphael, the whole group of them, I guess. Like there's 12 archangels, right?
15.
Okay. So there's a few wasn't aware of. I thought I knew. I thought I knew a lot of them. So is there one that you feel connected to in particular? And particularly, I know a lot of people reference Archangel Michael or Raphael maybe for healing or something like that.
Michael's my guy. He's there for everything. And then Shamuel helps me with Reiki sessions. So those two were pretty joined at the hip.
How do you imagine that he looks, or is it genderless?
Oh no, Michael's a hunk. He's a hottie. Or maybe that's the way he wants to show up to me because he knows
Yes.
I resonate with that. No, he's a good looking guy. He's got lots of muscles and he's got his breastplate and his sword and his wings and everything. So, and that could be just how I want to see him, and that's fine. Archangel Shamuel is very, very well, they both are, but Shamuel is even bigger. He's very, very large. And he just shows me up to me as this beautiful, soft pink presence, a pink light, but very large.
Yes, there's colors associated. Like I think Raphael is green, like a healing green. Michael maybe purple or
Blue.
violet, or it's
Yeah,
blue.
blue,
Okay.
Michael's blue. Yeah, Jophiel's yellow, Haniel's pale blue, Zadkiel's rainbow colors. So they all have their different frequency. I mean, of course, colors are frequency, because colors are part of the light spectrum. And when we separate the white light, which is the presence of God, then we get the different colors, and it separates into the different vibrations. And so every color has its own frequency, and they resonate with the different archangels. Yeah.
Yeah, I love to hear these angel stories and how people work with them. And in some of your other podcast episodes, you go into some topics like, interfaith angels. And I think that's interesting to think about because a lot of people may think angels are limited or only appear in Christianity when that's not really the case, is it?
It is not the case. I mean, if we think about the different types of beings that can show up for us, ascended masters are part of that pantheon. Ascended masters are a real mixed bag. Some of them have been human before, like Yogananda or Padre Pio or Jesus. And then many others are deities from all across the world. White buffalo calf woman for Native Americans, Pele for like Hawaiian Samoan type of religions, Ganesh from the Hindu pantheon. There's Bridget and Lou from the Celtic traditions. I mean, Roman, Greek, South American, African, all of these different religious faiths have their representatives in the ascended masters. Now, also Hindu has its own class of angels, and Islam does, and Judaism, and of course Christianity. But there's really only two archangels in the Christian Bible. That's Michael and Gabriel. But the rest of the archangels, as we know them, mostly come from the Kabbalah. So yeah, they come from all walks of life.
And I think everybody can, whatever tradition or spiritual tradition or religious tradition that they're brought up in, can take some comfort in the fact that they're there, and they're out there, no
Mhm.
matter which way you were taught. I guess. Yeah, angels are non-denominational, maybe in
They
a
are
sense.
equal opportunity.
Yes, equal opportunity. I like that. I was trying to think of a similar way to say that, equal
Mhm.
opportunity angels. So with all the crazy, things that are going on in the world right now, politically, everything. I mean, do you think more people are open to the idea of angelic guidance is contributing to the interest in angels? Like at the beginning of the Facebook Live today, 70% of people, and that's a recent poll. I think that's polls just a year old, that
Wow.
people are really, maybe they're looking for the support, they're open. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think so, because anymore we're all connected more than we ever have been, and yet we all still feel lonely. There's also studies saying that loneliness is an epidemic, that people just are, they might be connected on social media and through the internet and everything, but they're alone when they connect in that way. And they our families are smaller, and we don't have as many extended family members around us, because just the way that we live our lives now. So there's an epidemic of loneliness too, and people just want to know that they're not alone. And I think during these difficult times, it's helpful to know that, yeah, we can lean back, we can lean in on our angels and the guides that are with us, that there are miracles that happen, and we can ask for all types of help that we might need. So yeah, I think people need angels more than ever, honestly.
Now's the time that angels will be having a moment. Now's the time for angels. So I want to have people reach out to you because you said you're always looking for stories. And if anyone's watching this and they have a story they want to share, what's the best way to get to you so that they could be a part of the show?
Thank you. Well, every episode of the Real Life Angel Encounters, I include a link in there to submit your own story. So make sure and click that link. You submit your story. It goes to a form that I see. You can also email me at angelencounterspodcast@gmail.com. And then you can go to my website, which is radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcasts, and then navigate over to the Angel Encounters page. The link is there to submit a form as well. So several different ways to connect with me. And I want the stories. Please send me stories.
I'd like to hear more. So if there's people out there hiding in the shadows and they're afraid to share their angel encounter story and they really believe that they've had some angelic help or assistance, definitely we want to hear the stories, and also let people know about the Real Life Angel Encounters book that's full of all those stories. And that just came out, right?
It's going to come out very soon. In the United States, it comes out July 1st. In the UK, it comes out June 24th. So in the US, 2 weeks from yesterday, as we are recording this, it comes out July 1st. But the pre-orders are available. You can pre-order now. So I would say pre-order your book. And then when the release date happens, then the book will be delivered to you. And then if you're in the Kansas City area, I'm having a big launch party, just a celebration. And come by. I'll have extra copies there that you can purchase, and I will sign your copy for you. Or if you hopefully get it in the mail July 1st, bring it with you to the launch party, and I will sign it for you. So yeah, I would say pre-order the book now.
Perfect. Well, congratulations on that. I look forward to reading all the amazing angel stories. And I hope people check out the podcast, Real Life Angel Encounters, part of the mindbodyspirit.fm podcast network. And thank you so much for joining me today, Christi.
Thank you, Diane. It's been a pleasure.